Hello, I'm Marcy Payne, licensed therapist in Missouri and also self-love coach worldwide. And I am honored to present this emotional self-care masterclass for those of you that are interested in feeling more confident when you're dealing and responding to your emotions. So let's begin. What is emotional self-care? It is giving yourself what you need on an emotional level, noticing when you feel emotionally triggered, and responding to yourself in a way that communicates that you are here for yourself in a loving way. So the goal of this class is not for me to tell you these are the things you need to do to take care of yourself, but to really begin to learn what you need, including the resources and tools you may already have that you don't realize are a part of emotional self-care. So, but before we get into all of that, it's important to know that emotional self-care is not controlling or getting rid of your emotions, even though we often would like to. And it's not bypassing your emotions with love, light, and spirituality, although those can be supportive. And it's not ignoring or distracting yourself from your emotions, although very tempting. And lastly, it's not being overwhelmed or stuck in your emotions. So what do we mean when we say we're feeling triggered? Well, it doesn't mean you're weak. It just means there's a part of you that needs you inside. And there are two ways that in general that you can be triggered. One is feeling emotionally triggered, which is what most people refer to most of the time. It's something that's happened in the present that you don't like, and your reaction matches the present situation. But I also want a presence that you can also experience what's called a trauma trigger, when something in the present situation reminds you, your nervous system could be unconscious about a past time when you felt unsafe. So just keep that in mind, that it could be either of these things. So, and we each have a different level of tolerance for what would trigger us or activate the parts inside that need us. So Dr. Dan Siegel developed this concept or model that I find pretty helpful for considering what you need as far as emotional self-care or regulation. When you're in the middle, as you can see in this diagram, in your own window of tolerance, you're carrying on with your everyday life. There might be some moments of trigger, some probably emotional triggers, but you're able to still think clearly, make decisions, and come back down rather easily. And we all have a different size of the window of tolerance. Some of ours is pretty small, especially if you've had a lot of trauma. So it doesn't take much to go out of it, but you can work on increasing your tolerance for stress and emotions and challenging situations with some of the things that we're going to talk about today. So if you go too far out of your window of tolerance, it obviously becomes really hard to respond to the situation or even process internally what it is you need. So I find that it's really helpful to focus on kind of bringing yourself back into your own personal window of tolerance before doing any inner work or inner processing. So what does it mean? Hyperarousal has absolutely nothing to do with sexual arousal, to clarify. It just means that your nervous system is like over responding. You're in the fight or flight. You might feel panic, anxiety, anger, racing thoughts, overthinking, in general, just feeling like overwhelmed and just kind of ruminating, going in circles would be a good example. Where you're either of these outside of your window of time. You're not really in your body, and you feel like you're kind of in your mind in this one. So, and then at the bottom of this diagram is what Dr. Siegel calls hypoarousal, is where you maybe feel depressed, a lot of shame, hopeless, shut down, numbed out, and again, not really feeling connected in your body or with others, and you're more the freeze state is Good example of that, it would be when maybe your partner gets angry at you, and if you freeze and you don't go into fight or flight, then and you're just frozen and you don't know how to respond. Or if you've ever been so depressed you felt like you couldn't get out of bed, or for some people, disassociating and completely feeling like they're kind of outside of their body, looking down. Those would all be examples. And so the point of me sharing this is really because I feel like it's helpful for you to understand your own reactions and your own window of tolerance, and so that you can recognize when you are too far out, so you can bring yourself back into the window. And the way I'm going to teach you how to create your own emotional self-care guide is going to be kind of tying all this information in. So this is just kind of background before we get started. And again, just want to remind you that when you are in your window of tolerance, you can still feel triggered and activated, but you are able to make decisions and think clearly. So you might want to grab a journal or a piece of paper, maybe 2 pieces of paper if you don't have a journal nearby. And then you can pause the recording to write some of these questions down, because these will be the things I'm inviting you to contemplate, so that it will help you when you're going to utilize the self-care guide that you're going to create. So first question to contemplate is, how do you feel in your body, mind, heart, emotions when you are outside your window of tolerance, whether you're too far above or you're too far below? And then I also want you to consider, so the second one is, how do you feel in your body, mind, or heart when you are inside your window of tolerance? You might feel really focused. You might feel a kind of an energy within your body, but it's some people call it kind of a calm energy. It's a focused, alert. So just consider, how do you know when you're inside your window of tolerance? Confidence, clarity, those might be some of the things that you might experience. But it can also, inside of your window of tolerance also includes when you're coming back down and feeling relaxed. So it's all of that. So third question to write down and contemplate is, what are your current practices and supports that you already have that support your emotional well-being? Some of my favorites are journaling and breathing exercises and therapy, of course. So again, that's what are your practices that you already have? What are your tools that you already have that help you with your emotions? And then lastly, what emotions, grief, anger, anxiety, sadness, etc., there's a lot, or state, when I say state, I'm referring to that hyper or hypo aroused or activated state. Which of those states or emotions do you feel like you could really use some more support, tools, practices, ideas? So those are the 4 journal prompts that you can contemplate either right now, pause and write them down, or at the end after you're done with this video. That it will really help you utilize what we're going to do next. So next is I'm going to give you an example, but also just tell you some steps that you can do to create an emotional self-care guide. Because if you can probably already recognize, like, when you're in the middle of being triggered, especially if you're out of your window of tolerance, you're not really thinking clearly. So it can be really helpful to have these things written down that you can refer to in your journal, on your phone, wherever it's a good place to keep them, wad it up in your wallet, wherever. So first, grab a piece of paper. It doesn't really matter if you do it rectangle or square or what. I did mine rectangle just because I'd have more space. But first, you're going to draw a heart in the center of your paper. And in that heart, you're going to write what you need to hear from yourself to give yourself what you need. Again, if you want to do this along with me, pause the video and write it down. Or you can, come back to this and do it later. So in that center of the heart, again, is, what do you need to hear from yourself in order to give yourself what you need? And then you're going to draw a line, not through the heart, but through kind of horizontally through the center of your paper, and you're going to label the top section above or hyper triggered, and you're going to label the bottom section below or that hypo freeze state. And consider what is already helping you when you're outside of your window of tolerance. It could be either when you're above or below. So just consider that, and then choose 2 colors. One color will be what is your current support and practices you already have, and then the second color is for anything you want to try or you'd like to start doing, you've heard about, and you wonder if it can help you. And then here is a sample of an emotional self-care guide could look like. Yours is going to look like whatever works for you. But again, the goal is to bring yourself back to your window of tolerance in the middle so that you can process, respond, think clearly, and make decisions. So in green are some of the things that I already do, and in pink would be some of the things I'm, willing to try. I don't go into the freeze state as much as I go into like the fight or flight above. So I do have a lot of things that I already do. For anger, I find shaking and vocalizing, not screaming at the person that I'm angry at, but like I might go outside and shake and, just like basically make vowel sounds. And if I'm anxious, slow breathing, slow exhales, and yin yoga I find really helpful. And then on the line, I wrote things that I would do, I do talk to some of my parts that need me and converse and see what they need, motions included, and I journal, but usually I need to do something to kind of bring me into the middle window of tolerance. And I think you'd find that to be true for most people, so that they can process and give themselves what they need more on an emotional level. They need to do something to kind of bring down the nervous system or stimulate. So if you spend more time below your window of tolerance or in kind of that freeze state, finding something that is stimulating or uplifting, like music, art, or even just recognizing that you're safe, can help. So as we wind up this class, the next steps will be to complete your journal prompts and your emotional self-care guide, knowing that you'll have access to this and you can refer back to this, pause it, and go, write down what you need to. And then after you do that, I invite you to commit to checking in with yourself and the self-care guide daily so that you can continue to learn and give yourself what you need. And then check your email in about a week from the time that you signed up for this masterclass. I'll be sending out some next steps, some ways to get additional support, and some bonuses if you need some more ideas on tools, practices to help with emotional self-care. Take care.